What is up, guys? Welcome to today's video. As you guys can see, we have disassembled this whole thing again, and unfortunately and fortunately we have the new bell housing going on. You guys didn't know about this. I was gonna tell you guys eventually, but let me explain. So essentially what we have is McGregor Motorsports makes a bell housing that eliminates the need of an adapter plate and the bell housing that I have now. And what that does is, one, it gives us that thickness of the bell housing, I believe a little bit less. I have to do some measurements still for that. We have double checked all of our bolts, our bolt holes. Everything was actually really accurate. The only thing that was a little bit off, surprise, not our fault, the pilot bearing that goes in the back of the motor. So this pilot bearing essentially goes into here. So our issue isn't here, but over here. The one that we got made goes in just fine. There's a touch wiggle, you can hear it, not a lot. And then the one that came with the bell housing won't really go in, which means it's going to be tighter. Now, the amount of difference is very minimal, but I believe this one has to go in a little bit more forcefully and kind of be like wedged in between the two. And that would have been a bad thing that we didn't really think through. It's probably a very good sign that we second guessed ourselves. But essentially, the idea behind this wasn't to take away from the adapter plate I made. The idea was less moving parts means less failing points. Well, yeah, let's be honest. There was a little bit of a trust issue because this is the first adapter plate I make. But after doing all the measurements, it was actually on spot. It was perfect. The only thing that wasn't right was the pilot bearing. What we're going to do now is we're missing our clutch and our flywheel that will go in between the two before we bolt this back up. One thing I wanted to point out, everything was good. The bell housing is spot on, very high quality, like the finish. Everything's very nice and pretty. But I think I got a return. Somebody damaged it or something. Ready? Try to bring them this little corner so they can see how milky this little bit is, how thick it is.
Over here?
Yeah, that's not good. So
and you're missing the more important part.
Oh yeah. There's a problem with this little piece that you guys see here that we found. The biggest issue is that it's magnetic, which means there's metal in there, which means hopefully this transmission isn't too tore up. It shifts fine into gears, so I think we'll be okay, but we're definitely going to do a fluid swap tomorrow.
Oh my god.
What?
We found a big fish here.
Oh my goodness. Don't even, you're going to drop that by accident. It's going to like, somehow it's going to like find its way. This is going to be really bad. We're going to make sure it falls here. Oh, it's loose now. Okay. All right, she's loose. 1, 2, 3. What the hell? Oh, it's empty. I was like, don't tell me it's like clumpy. Like, that made me afraid. And there's a lot of stuff on here. Like, look at the hairs. You see that? Yeah. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so we haven't completely told them why we're digging in it. We lost a bit of
oh, we lost a washer.
We lost a washer in there, and that can't be good.
Yeah, so, the washer fell in there, and then we noticed that this is broken.
Oh yeah, this thing, the pieces that we were finding were
apart from the
essentially the pieces that we found inside were from here, and this is what holds the shifter essentially inside the transmission. As you guys can see, it is the next day. I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up on the plans for today. So shout out to T-Ray for these magnetic koozies. I don't know how people don't know about them, more at least. If you see me eat broccoli throughout the thing, it's a long story. I don't do this every day. It's just watch out for the green stuff in my teeth. Anyways, today, chew this down. Today we should be, cross your fingers, installing a clutch, flywheel, and then with that, throwing the drivetrain inside the car. Before that, we have to make sure the transmission isn't bad. So we're gonna be doing that today as soon as Adrian shows up. For now, I'm gonna get to cleaning a little bit because this place is a mess. Okay, so what do we have here? We have the little magnetic pickup thing because we dropped an O-ring in the transmission. We have a oil pan gasket for the oil pan on the Honda engine. And we have a little experiment. We're going to be painting. We wanted to go with the color of the wheels, but that didn't happen. The reality is it's kind of a dull bronzy color and it wasn't gonna pop, and we kind of wanted something to pop, so we're gonna go with a little bit of a gold valve cover. I think it'll look hot. Worst case scenario, it's on the top of the engine. We can redo it, so it's not a big deal. What do you think? You ready? Good.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck me. I guess it's the line that's not good enough. You know what the funny part is? I got that on camera.
But it's on the time lapse, right?
No, it's not.
It's not?
It's not a time lapse, so they got the full effect.
Well, this thing's ready for paint.
Nice. We kind of gave up on that for now because it's impossible to really torque it down on that table. So we're gonna try to manhandle it a little bit later. Here's our beauty. We're going to attempt to put some gold on this, see what it looks like. Cross your fingers, turns out good. Looks good though. Meh. It's my fault. I told Adrian that the spray bottle he was using was degreaser when it actually was just water. So we may have to redo this. But it looks decent. Looks good. You guys can see in here, it dried up textured like, and then under here, it dried up like kind of wet, not really, more of a smooth finish. And this is what you're going to see. So we're not gonna stick with that. We gotta fix this. So here goes fixing this. Valve cover is drying. Just finished up spraying it. It's a beautiful day out here in South Carolina. Finally, the weather where I can come outside in the morning, work all day, work all night, and hopefully pump more stuff out. So for the sake of getting this right the first time, we're gonna also paint it in the direction which we're going to see it on the vehicle. It just makes more sense. Turns out maybe a little bit nicer where the eye hits it first, you know? I'm actually gonna hit it with a little bit of 320. There's a couple spots where it's a little rougher than I'd like for it to be, and not 100%, just those spots where, like I said, where the eye's gonna hit it first. We're gonna give it a coat so that it acts as a primer, and essentially the gold all looks uniform, because if we just throw on the gold, it's a possibility that it won't look as uniform. This is, if you're short, you understand. Why does this walk so much? We short people will literally like climb anything, or a short person thing. So don't worry, it's normal. It's not on there for good, but it's on there until it dries completely, because I don't trust it anywhere else but there. What do you guys think? Is it corny or does it look good? This flywheel last night kind of took the better half of us. We smashed our finger with the torque wrench because it slipped off of the threads. So we're going to wait once the engine is really stable inside the car so that we can torque it down exactly. But all in all, everything is coming together nicely, slowly and steady. Alright guys, so we are on the last, cross your fingers, day of installing the engine transmission combo. The biggest issue we've had is that we don't know what we need, because it's kind of like a Frankenstein, but I think we know what we need. Hello, Esme? The sister. Alright, so what we have here is Toyota parts and Honda parts. Essentially, they're the same thing. We have the clutch cover, the actual clutch itself, the clutch alignment tool, a couple clutch bearings, and over here the exact same thing. Now we have to figure out how to put them all together, and I think I know how it's gonna work. I'm just not 100% sure that it's actually going to work. So cross your fingers for me. Essentially, the Frankenstein thing we have to do is not use the Toyota clutch cover. We need to use the Honda clutch cover. And on top of this, you're supposed to use a clutch for, that's not gonna work. You have to use a clutch for the Toyota, but then it won't fit on top of that one. This is gonna get fun. All right, so this is our finished product. Looks a little bit shorter. This is the OEM Toyota clutch cover. You guys can see about how much we shaved off of the side. Decent amount, but the main reason is because we need to use it in this. And you guys see it has a little bit, just barely any space in here to move, which should be enough for it to spin in there. So we'll see how that goes. It's a tiny bit bigger still than this one, but I'm gonna try and push my luck and just keep it there. So now we have to install everything and hope for the best. Key to making this transmission engine mate well for the final time, what I'm gonna do is this. You don't really want tons of anything in there because it's kind of gonna be, it's gotta be dry once it's functioning, but you kind of want a little bit of ease of access. So what I like to do is throw a little WD-40, a little, then shake it off. Make sure there's not like tons of it on there. Just give her a couple just quick insertions will allow you to be able to kind of lube it up a tiny bit for the splines. I'm just gonna grab a little bit on my glove and just do that. We're gonna record this because I've never done this before in my life. This is weird.
Hey, no, I can do things, but like, not.
Does that hurt?
No, I just don't want it to fling in my eye.
Mechanic things. I don't know if, no, there's probably not any women watching, but if you're a woman and you're watching, do you do this? Kind of weird. Engine and transmission are mounted together. That actually went surprisingly easy. Shout out to the guys at McGregor Motorsports in New Zealand for the bell housing. It fit really well. And shout out to me for installing the clutch very well. Now let's just hope it works. But with that being said, we're going to try to drop the car once again and bring the engine up. But this time things are gonna be differently aligned because it just doesn't wanna play nice. You guys will see what I'm talking about in a second. Okay guys, so now that we have the engine transmission combo back in the car, I was going to see if I was gonna have some clearance issues. There's one place where we might have a tiny bit of an issue, but it's a lot easier to actually clearance the issue with the motor in the car than out of the car. As you guys can see, my beautiful valve cover just got trashed. So we're gonna have to retouch this. Not a crazy bad thing, but definitely because of that one spot right here. The clearance issue, you guys can see all the way around, it actually does fine. It does all right. The closest point of contact is right here, and then if anything, the engine can actually go up more. I don't think we will because of that. But back here, it does have a slight touch right in this area. And this is just a line. But back in here, it curves out like they're really, really close. So what I'm gonna do is probably get in there and just pry it back slowly and hope this moves. But for now, we have a different issue. Since the bell housing is actually like an inch shorter, we have to fix our transmission mount so that it sits an inch forward. Let's hope that with the transmission sitting about an inch forward, our shifter is still in a good location. It was before, but things can change. So let's first figure that out. Alright, so as you guys can see, where it's sitting now is pretty much ideal for the top. So what that means is that the transmission needs to stay essentially there. It's already attached to the engine where it was before, so I know our alignment is on point. Now let's figure out how to go from essentially here to here, because we need to use these bolts. And we already went ahead and cut off that little piece that we had here because it didn't fit. So let's see what we can whip up, and I will keep you guys updated. Now, let's do this times 2. Alright, so there it is. Essentially just a flat bar. A couple bolts into the side, welded together to that little V. My decent welds start from here and end about right there. And I realized that it's just, TIG is such a professional form of welding that if you can actually TIG weld, like, man, you are like the god. What I'm mostly excited for is inside the engine bay. We're officially gonna start bolting things on and not bolting them off, which is a big milestone. One of the biggest issues we're having is this valve cover. And it's about to not be an issue with this hood. Like, look at this. There's a whole engine in this car and I can fit in the engine bay. Isn't that crazy? That's all we did. We just took that little chunk away. It was in the way. And now we won't have any room. Actually, we're going to wrap it up there. As you guys can see, we are pretty much done with the actual drivetrain install. It took longer than expected. Now we're going to be taking some measurements, ordering our drive shaft, getting everything ready for the final stretch of the build. I believe we are getting close. Things are definitely playing nice. Overall, it's looking great. I love the gold. I absolutely love the gold. I'm so glad I did gold. With that being said, we have to end it there because we have no more parts to put on. If you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, feel free to subscribe. This is one of the builds that I was looking forward to, and while it may be controversial, a lot of the stuff I did, not exactly a professional spec, but guess what? I guarantee you this thing is going to rip. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Nice. What do you have to say about it?
Oh my goodness. This is something real. It feels good. It's turning out really nice. I don't know, that just hits right. It hits real good. I don't know what it is. It just hits so good.
I got your face.
That's the bloopers.